Hey, if you're under the impression that being successful on LinkedIn requires 10,000 followers or posts that go to 100,000 views consistently, you really don't. In this video, I'm going to give you 2 reasons why that is true. That even if you have a small following, even if your posts barely break 1,000, you could still be effective in attracting clients or customers for your business. Or if you're looking for your next role, getting in front of that person you want to have a conversation with about the next step in your career. All right, I'm going to be efficient in this video. Let's break these 2 reasons down. First off, there's a dynamic that we encounter when we start showing up on LinkedIn where until we start paying more attention, LinkedIn is boring. That if you log in, chances are that what you see are a bunch of press releases, Wall Street Journal articles, and job announcements, right? That's fine, but not particularly interesting. That was the case for my feed throughout my time as a lawyer, and I'm guessing it may be what your feed looks like too. When we start paying more attention, what happens is the algo starts feeding us more of the stuff it thinks we're interested in. Our feed starts getting noisier, and before too long, we go from feeds that are basically dead to feeds that feel noisy. It feels like we're getting inundated with voices all the time, just this endless stream of content that is more interesting and more engaging than the stuff before, but that can get overwhelming pretty quickly. Now, what I want to break down here is why, like this has happened for me, this happens for a lot of my clients, it happens for just about everybody who's trying to build a business on LinkedIn. Here's something that I try to keep in mind for myself and with my clients when this happens, where it's easy to get caught up in looking at what influencers are doing or the people who are getting hundreds of reactions or hundreds of thousands of views and say, I probably need to be doing that. I don't think you do. That for most people, you're not trying to talk to the masses. Most of us don't need huge amounts of attention to make good things happen. We need some attention, but that attention is not need to be huge for us to accomplish our goals. When we're thinking about an influencer strategy, people are trying to get a ton of attention. Those people sometimes are running off of kind of funnel model where they're trying to get a bunch of people in at the top so that some tiny portion of them come out to buy their $50 product or what have you, right? Their course, right? Most of us aren't like that. Most of us are trying to talk to a rather specific person, right? And the more specific you can be about who you're trying to talk to, the more you're increasing your chances that you're going to be able to connect directly with that person. But what I want to outline for you here, let's have art time. It's like why the noisiness doesn't bother me. All right, where when I think about LinkedIn, let's make this prettier. Let's go here. We're going to call this the adoption bell curve, the Linky adoption bell curve. Now, again, it may feel noisy out on LinkedIn, but where are we in terms of the adoption curve? LinkedIn has 1.3 billion users. There are 300 million people who log in every month. And apparently the number of people who are posting on a weekly basis is only about 3 million. So in terms of the adoption curve, when it comes to this platform, I think we're still about here. It's still very early in the game, all right? So when you start paying attention and you are kind of in this early part of the adoption curve, that noisiness that you are seeing are other people here at the beginning of the adoption curve, at the front end, early adopters. A lot of the people you're trying to talk to are not here at the front end. The people you're looking for, chances are more here, 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 here. They're probably not over here. And then if you're over there, chances are you're one of those people who's not even logging in ever. But I think this matters because if I'm trying to, let's say my business, where I'm trying to talk to a certain kind of law firm owner, like a relatively specific kind of law firm owner, then let's say most of those law firm owners are more like this. They're not early adopters. So their LinkedIn feeds do not look like yours or mine if you have that noisy feed where there's a lot going on. Their feeds look more like ours used to, those Wall Street journals and job announcements, right? What that means is their feeds have very little competition for attention. So if you can be relevant to those people, if you can get them in your network, that's one way to do it. And also if you're speaking to them about something they're interested in, your content is going to have a pretty good chance of not only finding them, but rising to the top of their feed. Like, regardless of whether that is a post that is getting 30,000 views or 3,000, right? So again, I try to keep this in mind that when we are at this front end of the bell curve, keep in mind that you're most likely looking for people who are farther back on that bell curve. And because of that, it's just relatively easy to get in front of them, right? It's hard to keep that in mind when our feeds feel so noisy, but that's true. Now, a second piece of this, let's jump to. They called it the LinkedIn 360 brew. It was like an algorithm update coming into this year. And you may have heard people talking about the drop in organic reach that's been going on. And I've been seeing that for myself, been seeing it for some clients. There's a real shift happening. But I've heard it described in different ways. But I think the big thing that's been happening that I find exciting and I think is particularly relevant for this conversation is that LinkedIn has been like shifting from being a social graph network, which is to say like your content or your posts spread first and foremost based on who's in your network. Think of it as like dropping a stone in water and the waves kind of go outward. That's how it's been historically, and it's still like that to a certain degree, it seems. But it's been, this network has been moving in the direction of being an interest graph, which is more like TikTok, where TikTok doesn't actually care who you're connected with or who you're following, who's following you. TikTok just cares about what makes it likely for you to watch the next video. Right? They're just going to show you stuff they think you're interested in. LinkedIn has been moving that way as well. They introduced this video feed last year that was, I think, really their first crack, and I'm speculating here, but I think it was their first crack at really trying to take that interest graph approach. And now it looks like they've rolled it out sort of across the platform, where if you're posting relevant, meaty stuff about what you do, who you are, like stuff that really dials in on your insights and your experiences. And again, we always want to show our point of view. We always want to be detailed. We always want to be specific in a way that your posts feel like you. They feel like your stuff, right? We're not just talking about facts. We're not just talking about information. We're talking about sharing your experience in digital space. If you're willing and able to do that, then the algorithm is looking for people who are interested in that topic, right? And it will more readily find those people than would have been true, it sounds, even a year ago, or certainly 3 years ago. So again, if you're somebody who's trying to make a certain kind of impact happen, whether that's finding a new role or finding new clients to help build your business or help move your mission forward, like you're able to do this more, I'd say more easily than ever, because more people are coming online. More people are starting to pay more attention to LinkedIn. And I think the key is to be specific about who you're trying to talk to, right? That when we think about that noisiness, I think a part of the problem we run into is that we think we want to post for everybody. We just want to like shout our message from the rooftops and hopefully people hear it. You don't want to be shouting into the void. You want to be very clear about who you're trying to talk to and how you can aim your message for that person. And the clearer you can get about that and who that person is, And it doesn't matter if that post is going to 800 or 80,000. You're trying to actually move the needle in terms of having a specific person take a specific action. For all the noisiness and how LinkedIn's organic reach is down and more people are showing up, which makes it more competitive to get attention on the feeds, all that is true. But I'd argue that there's never been a better time to be building on LinkedIn for these reasons that I'm saying. That there is still so much room on the backside of that adoption curve. We're still on the front half of that thing. And the LinkedIn algorithm is now more dialed in than ever in terms of showing your stuff to the people who are interested to hear from you. All right, enough out of me. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you out there.